Hello, world. Today's guest is Brenda Staat Tomlinson. She is a guide for deep personal transformation, helping individuals navigate change by mastering the connection between mind, body, and soul. As the host of Mind, Body, Soul Mastery, she leads conversations that inspire self discovery, personal power, and inner alignment. A soul leader and holistic healer, Brenda blends compassion with unapologetic honesty to help her embrace their truth, unlock their potential, and create a life filled with love and purpose. So, welcome, Brenda. We have a lot in common because I resonate a lot with how you help people. So, why don't you let the listeners know and the viewers know, how did you get to where you are today?
Well, first off, Elise, thank you for letting me join you in this conversation today. It is so great to connect with you again.
Yes.
And so, how did I get here? Well, my journey started, my awakening, my spiritual aha moment was like 6 years ago when another argument with my teenager, another door slam, and it's like, I can't live like this. I can't, I'm existing. This is not the life that not that I spent a lot of time dreaming about what my life would be like. Like, I lived a very expected, conditioned life. You
Mm,
grew up, you went to college, you got the job, you got married, you had kids, you did the 9 to 5. That was the expected, conditioned life. That's what I was living. And I was a single mother, so I had 4 children. One was out of the house, but 3 teenagers at home. And I was existing. My soul was dying, and
mm.
I didn't know it at the time. I just knew, like, okay, I cannot live like this. Something has to change. And I had the wherewithal, at least back then, to know that the only thing I could change was me, because everything I was doing for this rebellious teenager was not working. Yelling, acting, being authoritative, being it, it is because I say it is, I'm mom, wasn't working, right? And what I've now learned is our children are our mirrors that help us learn the parts of us that we either need to look at, we need to heal, we need to forgive, whatever. And so looking back at that time, it's like, yeah, my third child, Ian, was definitely my biggest mirror, and he is the one who was the catalyst for my change. So I went from that October night into seeking, seeking. How can I change my life? How can I change how I'm feeling? How can I move out of this existence? And then it eventually began to, well, I found some things. I found alternative methods of healing. I found alternative ways of thinking that wasn't mainstream. I definitely moved out into more of the woo woo, I call it, because I live in the Bible Belt. So I call it the woo woo part, the things that for me personally, it was all those, like, I am my my sign and who I am. I am all about spiritualism, mysticism, the occult, and not in the bad way, but all those woo woo things. That is my soul's nature. That is all my being at a core. And that was all conditioned out of me as bad, as evil, as from the devil, avoid. And so I did for decades, 4 decades, I did. And my soul was dying. I was existing.
That's probably the voice of 90% of the world, but maybe they don't realize it. But I connect so much to that, because I don't like to use the word preach because it's too strong of a word, but most people without realizing, like I just said, you are in that conditioned world of do this, do this, do this. And then it takes almost a rock bottom or a big, big aha moment to seek alternative ways of how to look at yourself and look at the world. So tell us a little bit more about Ian, because you brought him up,
Yes.
how he has been, that third child was, or that third child in that moment was your catalyst for where you are today, or how you live your life with the spiritualism and what I like to call as well woo woo. Everyone needs to get on that woo train, just in case if you're listening. It's not a bad thing. It's just
Oh,
a
it's
way
the best thing I ever did.
it is the best thing, and we call it woo woo because that's what people who don't understand it may call it. But let's go back to Ian and how he propelled you into this life of ease and
Yeah. Yeah. So Ian was really my catalyst to start this journey. And just within a few months in of starting this journey, he continued with the rebellious and the bad choices and, his path, what he came here to do, and ended up making a choice that crossed the line where it was no longer going to work for him to be in my home. Like, I can't keep you safe because of the choices you're making. So he urgently, within 8 hours one day, one Sunday, was on a flight to Florida to go live with his dad. So I had to change custody and give up custody of a child. And I really had hoped and wanted that by him moving to his dad's, getting out of the environment he was in, getting out of the friend groups and all those things, that he would have an opportunity to to change his path and to go a different way than what he was choosing to do here as this 15-year-old.
wow,
Unfortunately, that
and
didn't happen, and he continued with his addictions and his behaviors. And in 2022, I got the call that he had died from an overdose of cocaine laced fentanyl. And so the one who started my journey, right, then became a really big part of my story. And I mean, it's hard to put into words losing a child. It's hard for me to put into words. And yet also where I was at that time back in 2022. So it's been, this is our going on the third year, 2.5 years, where I was spiritually and knowing myself at that time. I had some great people come around me who were channelers, who were able to provide messages from Ian from the other side that really quantum shifted my grief. I don't want to go into all of that here because that's a lot, but it was able to quantum shift my grief because I understand his purpose. I understand what he came here to do. So I didn't stay stuck in the what ifs and all the things that he missed and why. I didn't stay stuck in any of those questions. I the messages that I received from him were able to pull me out of that suffering and put me into, "Ah, I see what you came to do. Your soul, your human experience ended. You you were done, and it was time to go back to where you came as an eternal soul and move on to the next journey for your soul's evolution," right? So my experience with grief, my experience with losing a child, a very unique perspective because of that, my growth and my leaning into the supernatural, that there's more than this life. There
right.
is more than this life, this human life we're living.
Okay, that's a lot to unpack as a podcast host, and I'm glad you brought it up because there's a lot of things that I do want to bring up. So first and foremost, I can't imagine losing a child. I have two children myself. I had a sister that committed suicide when,
Mm.
I don't know, I was 20, she was 18. And, that's a different, I couldn't even fathom what my mom was going through because I was still a child, if,
Right.
you know what I mean? Didn't have my own kids. And then it really put it in perspective once I had kids, thinking of my sister's suicide and now being, an adult with grown children and seeing what other moms have gone through. Most people say like, oh, I would never be able to get through that. Or how do you go on? Or how do you live your life? How can you ever be happy again? And this is one of the reasons why I wanted you on the show for many reasons, obviously. But one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you on the show is because grief is an emotion and you have to have it. I mean, if you can't just say like, oh, my kid died, he was meant to come and, he's a spiritual being, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't happen like that. That's not what you're saying here. You're skipping over a lot of emotion that you've gone through. But what I want to show the listeners, especially those, my husband makes fun of the way I say especially, and I say it so much, it's so funny. Um, Especially those who aren't maybe haven't really learned about, I keep saying the woo, but this other way of thinking and being, which is what I feel the way we were born to be. We just got conditioned out of it, is that when you have that perspective, the grief doesn't become your identity. And you see that this being, and when it's your child, especially a child that you've had such a volatile relationship with, at least for a period of their time, I'm not saying maybe
Right.
born, it's not only, I know I can only speak for myself. What I want to get to you is like with my sister, she wasn't addicted to drugs, but I think the depression drugs they gave her made her much different. And part of you is relieved, selfishly relieved that this person is not creating this tumultuous part of, it's like a piece. So I know for me I felt almost guilty that you feel relieved, but then as a, and then spiritually but before you get to the spiritual, as a mom, it's the most probably devastating feeling that you can feel in your entire life. I can't really equate. I had 4 miscarriages, and we're not going to get on the debate whether it's a human or not, but you still love this unborn child so much, and then you lost it, and I can't even imagine the grief
Right.
of having a child that you met and having your life. But when you become when you wake up to your spiritualness, we already are spiritual beings having human experience, you understand it more. And there is a theme or a theory that we come into this world as a human knowing that we are going to maybe end our life that early or end suicide, and that the lesson is for the people that are left behind. So I think that's what you were kind of touching on. So let's go with your story, what your feelings are with that. He was brought here to do X, Y, and Z.
Right. Well, so part of this awakening, part of, leaning into and stepping into the healing journey, the spiritual journey is you kind of touched on it, like this theory that we are souls here having a human experience. And as souls, we came with a plan and a purpose of what we wanted to experience in this life. And along the way, we have choices, that may lead us away or lead us towards or whatever. We all have choices along that path. And what I what I heard from Ian on the other side was, I came to chase the high. And one of the sentences that came through was that I didn't know I could do it a different way than finding drugs. So that was my cue. Oh, drugs was the way, his path to finding that high, to remember where he came from, right? That if we're souls here having a human experience, our souls know the highest vibration, the we can't even put into words, but our souls know that, right? And I think that all of us, we have a longing for that return. We have a longing for finding that again, right? Finding that remembrance of that beauty, that oneness, that love, that high. Ian's path was to come find that high, and his path to do that was drugs and alcohol. And my journey has allowed me to see that we all have a path. We all came here to do things. We all came here to learn lessons, and that was his. So when I say I didn't sit in the suffering of, it's because I don't look at life and death maybe the same as the majority of the world does today. Remember, I was born in a religious home. I mean, I was taught and believed for 4 decades there is one life. You live and you die, and that's it, and you go to heaven. Like, I believe that was life.
You hope you go to heaven.
Yes, yes, you hope you go to heaven, right? If you lived a good enough life, maybe,
Right.
right? I don't believe that anymore. I don't believe, and I don't even, this is bold, I'm going to say it. I don't even believe that is God, the heaven and hell. Like I just don't even believe that anymore. So with what I've learned, with what I've experienced, with what I've walked through in my own healing journey, as I healed myself, as I expanded my awareness, as I looked into with curiosity these spiritual things, as I chose to trust the message that came from this very gifted channeler of my son and his energy, it I felt it visceral within myself, like this is true. And that's one of the things that I've learned on my journey is What is true for me may not be true for you. But when it's true for me, I'm going to follow it and
Mhm.
I'm going to stick with it. And so that part of me, that all of that was the way that I was able to let go of the suffering, of the pull of grief, of the sitting in the grief. And now don't get me wrong, and I don't want anyone to misunderstand. I think about my son every damn day. He is always there in the back of my mind. Grief runs like this little program in the back of your mind. And part of the key is accepting that there's this duality in life and
Yes.
that I can be sad and missing him and tears rolling down my face. And I can be so damn happy watching my other children, my remaining children, fight and get along and laugh and play. And I can be sad in that moment and missing because Ian should be here. He'd be right in there with that, right? This is the duality of what we have to live with, that I can be sad and grieving at the same time as I can be joyous and happy and just watching life continue to unfold. And that is how grief sits with me today. It is in the duality of things.
Yeah, and you allow, I don't want the listeners to think that you did not allow yourself to grieve and feel that
Oh,
grief,
absolutely
and you
right.
feel it all the time. So it's not about not feeling it; it's about not letting it take over your life and, like I said, become your identity. Because many people, they just never get out of it. So they're, your loved one who passed away would not want you to go through the rest of your life not enjoying it. We're supposed, we're here to, as humans, to experience all the emotions, not just
Right.
one or the
Right.
other, all of them. And there's a gamut of them that we're all supposed to feel. However, the what we're supposed to go for the most is the better feeling thoughts. So, and you get to choose how you think and how you wake up each day. That's one thing I like to help people with. Like, you can have, I'm not saying on the day your loved one dies that you're supposed to choose rainbows and butterflies. I'm saying in the general theme of your life, you wake up each day and you have choice. How do you want your day to go? And our thoughts create things. Our emotions, our thoughts create our emotions. And with what we were speaking about before, with like your soul's coming down or being awakened, and you said choice. I'm a firm believer in that we are all supposed to always seek what makes us feel better.
Mm.
And like you said, like that high, if you want to use that word, because happiness and inner peace and inner love and joy is a high. Let's wake up. You're just always in a good mood. And that's what you're supposed to. But I speak a lot about frequencies and vibrations. So that's where your frequencies and vibrations are supposed to be most of the time. Obviously, it can't be all the time. And of course, when you lose a child, where's your vibration? You're in complete and utter, I don't want to call it negative vibration, but you're not feeling good. You have to feel that in order to get to the other side. The only way out is through. And I also think, this is my opinion, you don't have to agree with it or not. I also think for Ian, he's chasing the high because he didn't know that you can go within and find that. And
Absolutely. Right.
not your fault
Right.
or anyone else's. There's no fault, but we think that everything's outside of ourselves. And
Yes.
there's a piece of us that maybe we don't want to see. And you're numbing, just going back to feelings you don't want to feel. Who knows what he's feeling that he didn't want to feel? Don't know. We can't ask him, right? But
Right.
something he was trying to escape from or seek, and that drugs and alcohol, if they were good for you, that would be the end all be all to it all, right?
Right.
You could feel freaking great all the time, but that the avenue of drugs and alcohol are not good for us. But what we're seeking with them, and in that little moments of time that you're high or drunk or whatever, it's that like free flowing happiness. Usually, I mean, sometimes it makes you worse. So, can you speak with the audience, especially there I go again, the ones that have lost children, especially children, for this episode? How do you deal with guilt? With the guilt,
Mm.
as a mom, I know, I have two living children, and I feel guilty, like, oh, maybe I did this, or maybe if I did that. How do you deal with it? Because I'm sure you have it. I didn't think you skipped over that part on your journey. So how do you deal
I
with it?
didn't skip over it. And as you were talking, I was just remembering you made the comment about, Ian used drugs and alcohol to help cope with whatever, and we don't know. And what came in my mind was, you're right. Like you're right, Brenda. You didn't know what he was going through because he didn't talk to you. He didn't tell you things. And then my mind went to, and you weren't a mom who was like in tune with that. Like I was in my own journey of existing,
Right.
right? And so I look back and I wasn't the greatest mom. I didn't do all things right. I did the best I could. And that has been, and I've had to learn to forgive myself
Mm.
for all the things that I didn't do well, right? I mean, I was so stuck in my own misery, my own existence, still trying to provide a life for my kids that was, happy and joyful, but yet we were not emotionally connected. We were not that kind of talking family. We didn't, and I wasn't. So this goes back to, and this is where you get this thread. Like if I look back at my own home life, I
Mm.
had emotionally unavailable parents. So we didn't talk about emotions. We didn't learn to, so I had to figure it out on my own. And I didn't start figuring out how to deal with my emotions and talk about them and move through them until my fifth decade in life. So I wasn't an example of helping my children learn to deal with their stuff, right? So there is guilt there in that he was going through shit. I was clueless. I just thought he's this rebellious teenager getting in trouble, and not realizing, well, there was probably something more. Like maybe I should get to the root of what it was. I mean, I did all the things, brought him to therapy, took him to, do the things that we could do, right? Never really getting into the heart and the root of. That's where my guilt lies, and that maybe there was more I could have done. Yet I always go back to the grace and the forgiveness and the compassion for myself. I've done a lot of Ho'oponopono.
Mm.
If you do that prayer, I've had to do it a lot. Whenever those guilty feelings come up, whenever that regret comes up, whenever the I should have done this or I should have done that, like the shoulda, woulda, woulda, all that kills me, kills you, kills you. So let that go. So I've had to learn to do a lot of forgiveness and compassion. I've had to remind myself, uh, this is my first time as a human today, experiencing today. This is my first, right? I've had to, this is my first time being a mom with this child because all of our children are different and unique and they all have different personalities and Ian was my mirror. My other three children, not my mirror. He was the one that pushed my triggers, pushed my buttons. He's the one who revealed to me all the places where I need to look into, where I needed to heal. My other children, they are not that for me. So I had to learn to forgive myself for, the reactions, the things I didn't say, the things I didn't do, and just accept, you know what, that was part of our journey. He had his journey, I had mine. We came together, we had lessons to learn from each other, and his
Yeah.
experience ended soon. The guilt still comes up, but I'm very, as you were talking, like I was very quick to not let the pattern spiral and just say, you know what, Brenda, you did the best you could with what you knew at the time.
Exactly. And that's a message for everything, not just this in life. When especially as women, beat yourself up for I call it stop shooting on yourself. We
Yes,
shoot on ourselves a lot. And just listening to you, like, I wish I did more, but you did all the things. It's not like you were like this kid's nuts and you ignored him, or you were a great mom. You took him to therapy, you did all the things. It's not like you ignored him and tortured him or abused him or anything like that.
right.
So it's just you don't know. So because you didn't know, I want to ask this question because this is what came to me was, do you think Ian was a gift? Like his life and his life ending was the ultimate gift in a backwards way.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So it's just interesting because I've thought about this a lot, like in the younger years. So probably like until he was, like 9, 10, probably the first 10 years. Ian was my little lover kid. He was the one who was always giving me hugs, and he was always the first to Happy Mother's Day, like he was the one who expressed love the most.
Oh,
And then it's almost like night and day difference. And then puberty hits, right? And then all of a sudden now you've got this more of this rebellious
like the
teenager
devil. Yeah.
locked up in my room, don't talk to me. And for someone like I don't enjoy conflict. I would much rather avoid conflict. It was easier for me to allow the closed bedroom, go do your own thing, just leave me be, I'll leave you be, and keep peace
Mm.
than it was to try and hone in and become this nag, because it always ended up becoming a fight. That's how the relationship with the two of us was.
I wrote down that, part of what maybe led him to down his path was that it sounded like he was very sensitive, and sensitive people, when they can't, when then you're not taught how to navigate your sensitivity, especially as a male. And it wasn't your job at that time. I mean, if you had, if now, you could go like, oh, if I had him now, or if I knew what I did now, we can't do that to ourselves.
Right.
It's just what he was going through. And I also experienced, like my oldest son and I, for different reasons. And I've said, I kept this close to the vest. I think I might have spoken on your podcast. I think it was a lot to do with parent alienation and all that kind of stuff. But still, you don't know how to handle what's going on in front of you. And because of that, it led me to a lot of where I am today. I took like this course about dealing with troubled kids and how to speak with them. And if it wasn't for him being the way he was, I would have never found out about all this and able to handle myself better and teach other people what to do. So it's almost like a weird gift. I doubt you say to yourself, oh, I wish he was still alive doing drugs, causing trouble in the world. And, it's like a weird thing to say. You do, but you don't. So it's just, I understand it completely.
Yeah.
Others might not understand it who are not open to this other realm of what life really is.
Right. It's no coincidence to me that the one who started me on this journey is the one whose life ended during it. Like, that is not lost on me. I don't believe that that is any coincidence. You just mentioned Ian was sensitive. He probably was. What I'm learning about myself is that I am a very sensitive soul, and that was all repressed and shut down as a youngster. So here in my fifth decade, learning to accept that sensitivity and learning to ferret out, well, what's mine and what's someone else's, and how do I protect this and how do I manage this. Yes, I wish I had known that when my kids were little. Of course I do, because maybe, man, I would have been a whole different parent.
Me
I'd have
too.
been a whole different parent, and helping them and navigating that wasn't part of my path at the time. So,
No, and it's also, I'll sometimes question it myself. Is like, if the soul comes for this, and we're supposed to learn this lesson, isn't this all exactly the way it was supposed to end?
right.
Up, exactly. Like you weren't meant to know what you knew back then. Now, like, that's a different path. That's someone else's path. This was the path. And, when I speak like this, I don't want the listeners to think that, the death of a child is, like, oh, this is the path and you have to get over it. It is something that I probably wouldn't wish on anyone.
You don't really get over it. You learn to move with it.
Yeah, you learn to move with it. Like I said, I can't imagine, and I hope I never have to experience that ever in my lifetime. Um, but I feel like you're a beacon for people who are or have gone through the death of a child, because, like I said, I think in my experience from speaking with people, they almost feel guilty to be themselves again or to live a happy life. And especially if you have other children, like I feel guilty. Like I sometimes feel guilty about my sister, like, oh, she's not here, or she didn't love her life, or she took her life. And here I am, like loving my life. It almost is a piece of you that feels guilty. So I want you to let the audience know that it's actually a gift back to your child who is now in a different plane. I like to call it, life continuation in a different energy, an energy. You're not in a human anymore, but you're still alive. That it's okay. I want you to like explain to the listeners that it's okay to go on and be.
Well, I think it honors you, but it also honors your loved one the most, that you go on and continue to live your life, follow your path, and do what you're here to do. A lot of times the death of a child can be the catalyst for that growth and transformation to propel you into a bigger purpose, into maybe more of what you came here to do. Maybe, right? And so I know that for me, sitting in the suffering would not honor him and would not add anything to his life. It would only it would only hurt me. And I know that, I mean, he's a soul, like eternal, and now all knowing. He wouldn't want me to stop living my life because he's not here. Just as if I died today, I wouldn't want my children to be stuck in suffering and sadness and I don't know how to live without my mom. I don't want that for my children. So just like I don't believe Ian wants that for me or his brothers and sisters. I think that he's all knowing. He and our soul, there's a piece of us, we're still connected. Our souls are one. Like when we all get to that eternal, our souls are all one. There is oneness and unity that we can't even imagine. This all knowing. There is a piece of our souls that, because we're connected to that divine already, we know that for ourselves. And I want to live such that a way that I honor the lessons that he came for me. Like yeah, I want to honor the
Yeah.
life and the lessons and all that he's taught me in life and death. So,
And I don't want to say he lives through you, through your message, because I believe that we are the divine. We can go down that avenue on a whole different episode.
yep,
These people, like you said, you were in the Bible Belt, and the people that are, I'll say it, indoctrinated into thinking a certain way may not like what I'm saying, but we are the divine, and it would be dishonoring the divine if you don't carry on life in a robust, amazing way that we were all came here for, and also honoring the divine piece of him that is still around. We're not supposed to go through the rest of our lives in misery because of a miserable thing that happened to us.
right, right.
And that's the thing that I think people don't understand when they, sometimes we'll see, you know, I understand some people don't mourn the right way, or I know that, people maybe seem like they got over it quicker, but everyone has to deal with it differently. But I'm speaking about like going through your grief and then living your life. That's what we're here for, no matter what. And like I said, I think the biggest death of a loved one is a child, and that can never leave you because the child they were inside of us. And unless you're, I don't know, a cold human, you love that child before it's even born,
Mhm.
and it is a piece of you. And this is the thing that I love when people get focused on the chaos in the world. Focus on the unbelievable. Like, we grow babies in us.
Right.
I mean, it's just incredible, right? But it just, you're not supposed to let bad things that happen to you, or I don't say happen to you, happen for you, because they do happen for you, dictate the rest of your life. So if you're a parent struggling with the death of a child, no matter how they died, whether by accident, by their own hand, however it may be, please know that it is okay. And there's no certain time frame, so take your time, but it is okay to go and like love your fucking life, whether
Yeah.
you have other
Yeah.
children or not.
Yeah.
Especially if you have other children, you want to be there for them. But even if you don't, you have to go live your life. And
Yeah.
I also don't think, a lot of people think like, well, now I have to be an advocate for, let's say, drugs and alcohol, and I have to go do this. No, no, you don't, at all. I have my own thoughts on being so proactive in that. You're actually feeding that energy of the world, in my opinion. When you focus on the things that you don't want, you're bringing more of what you don't want. Just go live your life, and your happiness and your, the connecting to the inner being that you are, that divine, and going through life like that, that is the best gift of all you can give yourself. You can
Yeah.
give to your loved ones that you lost. And just know that you're going to be connected. You're already connected, like you said, but I believe in the same thing as you. There's oneness, there's this higher consciousness, oneness that is the most profound, amazing feeling in the world. And we all have that inside of us already. And the ones that cross over back to that are like, they're good.
Right.
Don't worry about them. Go ahead.
I'd like to go back to something that you said because that's really key. When you said happening to you versus happening for me. That
Yes.
was one of the key lessons that I had to learn on my healing journey and my spiritual journey. And if I hadn't learned that lesson of life is happening for me. So there were things with Ian's death, dying at the age of 20, that were for me. God, it's hard to say that. And it doesn't, I'm sure it doesn't sound really good to any listeners who's lost a child. Yet when I leaned into what did I learn from that and how, I mean, I learned so much. But if I hadn't had that for me to me shift change in my perspective, I would have been sitting in, well, this is happening to me, this happened to him. I would have been sitting in the suffering, and I would have been sitting in grief in a much deeper muck and mire pit to get out of than I was, because I already had this shift of life is happening for me. So, okay, this sucks. Only way I can say it today. Like, this sucks. And this, well, to be honest with you, what I usually end up saying is really there are no words. I can't even put into words how it felt or what I even feel about it. Like, there just are no words.
Mhm.
Yet I do know that this is happening for me. There's a reason. And so I chose to lean into what was that? And what is it? And I can go back to like all the things I learned about myself, all the things that I leaned into and learned, healed, unraveled, was it was just a lot. And I'm going to say this kind of like caveat this in this two ways. As a soul, on my soul evolution journey, I am better for it. As a human, God, my heart still fucking hurts.
Mhm. That's the perfect way of saying that, because it could be both.
It is both.
It's definitely both. And, the theme of this call, actually, the podcast, I actually want to use what we both said is, when you make that shift in any which way of your life, when you stop saying, why is this happening to me? And really shift, not just say it, shift into, why is this happening for me? It literally creates a different vibration within you and propels you to a higher frequency, believe it or not. Because
Yes,
when things are happening to you and you're a victim, not to say that you've never said that to yourself, and not to say that you didn't say, why is this happening to me? You
I
might,
did for 4 decades.
right. You might have
That
said,
was,
why, I think, some people may say, I don't even want to live anymore, or whatever the things that you need to get out, get all that shit out. But literally, when you get all that other shit out and you sit back about, okay, why is this happening for me? That is where it changes the trajectory of your life, really.
right. And it also just changes too this when you just said it, it was like very clear to me. All of a sudden, well, this is happening for me. It puts you in this place of curiosity and wonder.
And it's more acceptance, I think. A little bit.
Yes.
It's like, okay, this is happening for me. I don't like it, but why is this happening for me? There's something here. And then, like I said, there's a theory that souls, before they even come down, make a plan. Like they sign a contract.
Yep.
You and Ian sign a contract. I'm gonna basically overdose at the age of 50, age of 20, and then your soul's gonna grow from that, and you're gonna grow as a human. And everyone says, you can believe that or not, but that's what it is. I always say to my people that are listening, you could believe it or not, but that's what you're dealt with anyway. So whether you feel like it was like a preordained thing or not, you still are handed this situation. And when you say, okay, this is happening for me, because when you change that, it literally changes how you go forward, whether you grow or plant yourself right there for the rest.
Yes. Yes.
Um,
That question, how is this for me, opens up the possibilities and opportunities that you couldn't see in this, even in the tragedy.
yeah, and lets you helps you go move forward. And
Yes.
because the victim mentality, and you are a victim in a sense, right? Something did happen to you, but if it happens for you, then you now have, it's like a different path to go down, that
Yes.
you can now go live your life. And like you just said, your heart's still broken. It will never be mended. There's nothing that can mend that ever. Nothing. But now it's like you live your life, you're helping others. If you stay in the why is happening to me, you certainly can't help anybody with that.
No,
It,
I'm disempowered,
yeah,
right? And so when I
that's
lean
what I was
in
looking for.
and this is for me, that creates a sense of empowerment for me to choose to do with what I wish. I can choose to stay disempowered. I
Hmm.
mean, I can choose to look in and go, okay, this is for me. I hate it. It still sucks. And then I can still choose to sit in disempowerment. Absolutely my choice. And there's no judging here, right? Like
Hmm.
everyone has their path. Everyone has their journey. And you do have a choice whether you see it or not.
Right. And I think that's part of why we do the work we do, because of what we've been through, and we are awake, and we
Yes.
want to awakening people, but we're not here to force anyone to do that. We just want people to maybe change, take a start, I can't even talk, ask questions.
Yeah.
Ask the why is this happening for me? What can I do with this, instead of like this is it, in any aspect of your life, because you are meant to grow, and you can't grow without a little bit of struggle, or whatever you want to call it contrast. And you're not, when something like this happens to you, it's not meant for you to just lay down and die with it,
Right.
figuratively, because you're still alive. And a lot of people just, they literally are existing and they're not living. And that's what you want to, I also like to use the word divine. Divine did not have you appear as you in this world, as you and only you, your fingerprints, your DNA, your everything, to just sit there in misery because something, a loved one passed away, no matter how they did. So, listeners, please take note. And if you need help with any of this, let's discuss how you help people with this or many other things in life to awakening and being the best person they can be. Tell the people how you help them. Tell,
Sorry. I was
tell
just listening to you. I was kind of like,
okay.
so in the work that I do, like I'm very much mind, body, soul mastery is really where my crux of my work is. And it's it's different for every person, right? And so I believe that our mind and our body and our soul are meant to work together in partnership and meant to work together in alignment. And our mind can be controlled by others' influences, by the ego, by all the conditioning and programming and just different things. And our body is where Our body runs our life, right? Like this runs this physical suit, the subconscious, the respirations, the breathing. It runs us, but it also runs the subconscious things. So the things that we say to ourselves, like, God, I'm stupid. Well, your subconscious hears that and it's going to remind you, show you all the ways that you're stupid. It's if like, I'm never going to do that again. Well, your subconscious runs the program, like, well, we're going to make sure that that never happens again, right? So this subconscious part of us, of our bodies, also houses our emotions, which we're here as humans to feel, because souls don't have that experience of emotions. That is what souls coming to have this human experience life get to feel emotions, which they can't even describe until they've come and done it. And it is our intuition and our emotions, and then our souls know why we came here. Our souls know the lessons we came to do. Our souls know our higher purpose, what we're here to do. When I was living life for the first 4 decades of my life as, existing, I was not living in my purpose. I was not doing anything that I was supposed to be doing. Life was not fulfilling. It was not fun. I was just existing, trying to provide a great life for my kids. But on the inside, I was dying. I was miserable. So the work that I do is really helping people who feel unseen and disconnected reclaim their power. This mind, body, soul mastery is a triangle of power. And I help you, work through the healing. We work through this stuff so that you can feel your emotions, navigate them, and step into this life with yourself and with others in full alignment with who you are and what you came here to do. That
Amen.
was very long-winded,
No,
but
that
it is like it's really a unique, curated based on where we're starting.
it's individual to each individual
Yes,
person, but
yes,
I'm right there with you. That's because that's exactly what I love helping people with as well, because the power lies within you, and it's about waking up to that power within you and
yes,
breaking out of that brainwashing. And you can fight me all you want, listeners that don't believe it, but you're literally are brainwashed to live.
yes,
I'll use what you said, live this conditioned, miserable, unfulfilled, just kind of like robot like life. And that's not what we came here for. We can get down a rabbit hole of why they do that to us, but that's a whole nother episode. But it's about awaking you to the power of who you are and what you're supposed to be doing here on earth. And that for others, really, that's what we're here for. So I love to ask, what would you, oh, you know what I wanted? Let me take this back. Why don't you let the listeners know? You don't have to do the whole thing. I can never say it, the whole Ho'opono.
the Ho'oponopono.
Yeah, because I love that. And there's one version of this woman singing it that actually I it was during an ayahuasca ceremony that I heard it, I think the first time, and it brought me to tears and it really helped me heal a certain part of myself. That's another episode as well. But let the listeners know what that prayer is.
Yes, yes.
Very
So
best.
it is a powerful Hawaiian prayer. I believe it's Hawaiian, a beautiful Hawaiian prayer, and it is so simple.
Mhm.
So it is literally, thank you. Please forgive me. I'm sorry. I love you. And you can use the words in different ways. So sometimes I will say, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. Thank you. Sometimes I will start off with, I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. It is just those 4 sentences, but I'm telling you, it is a way to, when those things come up, when the regret, when the guilt, when oh, I made a bad choice, or when I'm feeling really down on myself, right? It's when those kinds of inner work things come up that I'm able to give myself the grace and the compassion and the love and the forgiveness that my inner child needs to be able to let that go. So I use it as a healing tool, as a tool to, let go of the negative energy of whatever came up, but as a way to just remind this inner child that's in this vessel that I chose, who's still with me, all the versions of us are still with us, right? And they're still, I believe that I have a 19-year-old rebel that I still have to work with and learn to, you know, work with her about some things so that she doesn't resist all the things that this my age self wants to do. I have the 6-year-old little inner child yet that I have to love and nurture when she feels lost and alone and lonely. The Ho'oponopono is one tool that I use when those moments come that I can use my current version of myself to heal those younger versions of me and help them let go of what they're still holding on to.
Yeah, thank you for the explanation. I also love it for myself. And through my journey, I've learned you can use it for really anything. Uh,
Yes.
People use it for money. People having like money issues, they use the prayer for that. You can use it for somebody else. You can use it,
Yep.
it's likely most of the time I also use it for myself. You can use it for Mother Earth. You can use it for anything. And it's a beautiful prayer. So if you're listening, look it up on YouTube because there's many versions and it's really a great ritual to get into the habit of doing. So what I was going to ask you is I like to ask this question is what advice or what words or what would you just say to your younger self? And you can pick the age that you want.
Mm.
What piece of advice, what would you say that maybe you thought you needed to hear at that age or anything that you feel comes up for you?
I think that I would tell that younger version of me, I would tell her to lean in, to hear her truth,
Amen to
because
that.
it's within her. There is nothing external. It is all within.
Yes, thank you for that. So listen to that, listeners, because that's for everyone. And then I'm a big affirmation girl. So this doesn't have to be your life affirmation, but just like for right now, like what's your I am statement or I am word that you'd like to use?
See, I'm not a big affirmation person. So I'm going to say right now, though, I am using two sentences. And I am using two sentences, and I'm going to give you one. So right now, my like daily mantra is the universe has a crush on me and
Mm,
it's showing me every day.
okay, so that's a different version of an I am.
Yep, it is. Yep, it is. And so for me, that is, believing in the truth that the universe is for me and that everything is for me. So sometimes I forget, right? Like the partner hasn't come, the money's not flowing in, whatever those reasons are, right? Or you know what? That one doesn't talk to me anymore. Whatever it is. If the universe is for me, I may have lost sight. So show me. So again, it's the same thing, like open up the opportunities and possibilities. Show me that you have a crush on me. Show me that you're supporting me.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
So I'll put it in the show notes, but how can people find you if they're interested in meeting you?
Yes. So probably the best place is my website, brendastomlinson.com,
Okay.
my contact page, all the ways to work with me. And then right now, my favorite place to hang out is on TikTok, and you can find me at
Really?
bst.energyhealer. Yeah. I am pretty much off socials, Facebook and Instagram. I've deleted them off my phone and I haven't put them back on. I'm not sure I want to.
I don't blame you for that.
So,
Yeah, I haven't ventured onto TikTok yet because it's just whatever. But now we know
yeah.
where to find you. Now we know where to.
Yeah, I love TikTok. And then I also lead in a community called Within. It's a community of about 11 of us kind of co-founded this together, and I'm in there every week, every day, every week, leading and guiding and working with other leaders. So I participate and lead at the same time. So you can find me at Within. I think it's letsgowithin.com.
Oh, very cool. I'm interested in that myself. Well, thank you so much for this. I know it was well, for us, it's enlightenment, right? But I know for
Yeah.
some listeners, it might be a very, sad topic, but it is something that happens to many, many people. Death is part of life. And
Yeah.
thank you for being vulnerable enough to tell us your story and to also be a lighthouse for the people going through that storm right now. So, till next
Thank
time,
you.
listeners, I wish you much love and light.